Welcome, guys. Welcome, everybody. We got a multi-chain infra panel over here with a bunch of chads and builders. So very excited to get this off. So to start off with, why don't we do some quick intros? I'll start off myself. I'm Nero. I'm the CEO and founder of MCA, a Web3 growth consulting firm. And I'll give it to you guys.
Yeah, hi, I'm Felix. I'm the head of ecosystem at Symbiotic. Symbiotic is a universal staking protocol, so we allow projects to build restaking or staking use cases on top of us when they, require slashing, and we're kind of like provide a basic primitive to build these things.
Hey guys, my name is Tony. I'm the founder at Lucid Labs. We've built an interop solution that unifies all the major cross-chain meshing protocols. For us, it never made sense that you'd have to choose one of them and basically be stuck there for life. So if you come through us, you have access to them all simultaneously. Whoever has the best performance wins the volume. All the major guys, Layer 0, Wormhole, CCIP, XLR, etc. So that's what we do.
Hi, so I'm Mathieu. I'm the founder at Linera. Linera is a highly scalable layer 1 blockchain that is optimized for real-time and agentic applications.
Perfect. And my name is Michael Powell. I'm the CMO at Duro Labs, the initial contributor to Fogo. Fogo is the most performant and optimized for trading layer 1 that's ever existed.
Awesome. Well, let's get straight to it. So in the current day and age of blockchain, there's little room for errors across the board. How does your guys' architecture help developers, find opportunities and build across different ecosystems?
Well, yeah, I can maybe start. So currently we are actually on Ethereum, but we're working on a protocol that will basically help developers build cross-chain applications with their own validator set and basically having their own staking using their own tokens. So the idea is that you can sort of aggregate stake from different chains and you kind of have the same trust assumptions across the different environments that your app is on. And then essentially like Symbiotic provides you the slashing and the reward capabilities and like sort of everything you need to build your own network. And through that, basically developers should be able to access and kind of own their own trust across different, at least in the beginning, EVM environments. I guess that's
Perfect. Yeah, in our case, we try to make this as seamless of a process as possible. So a lot of projects, they'll go from, let's say, Hyperlane to Wormhole or whatever. But the migration process is incredibly difficult because each of these bridges have their own token standards and they're intended to create a walled garden. It's meant to be difficult to leave. They're trying to keep you. And so for us, we basically want to tear down all those walls from all of these gatekeepers and basically allow anyone to migrate anywhere instantly. So in the case of the migration from any provider, you can come to Lucid in less than 5 minutes with no engineering work required at all. All you're doing is moving the mint and burn permissions from your current provider to Lucid. We're compatible with every token standard. And so there really is no onboarding process. Everything can happen within 5 minutes, and then you instantly have access to the most performant cross-chain bridges that exist. Like, for example, Layer 0 is traditionally the most optimized and performant. It's like 50 seconds and 30 cent cross-chain. We have an integration with Polymer, which is sub 3 seconds, sub 5 cent. And so you can migrate from wherever you are to Lucid in 5 minutes, and then everything is set up, ready to go, and that's really it.
Yeah, so in the case of Linera, we are multi-VM. So we started with support for smart contracts written in Rust, and then we added support for smart contracts written in Solidity. So that's allowing builders to bring some code base that they like written in Solidity and execute them in the framework of Linera. So that's one thing we do. The other thing is just being fast by itself. In the first place, definitely helps with bridges. So that's something that's also very important to notice and keep in mind.
Perfect. I'll take probably a little bit different of a approach to the question and talk about how we're thinking about performance impacting what developers can create on chain. when it comes to the trading experience, a lot of it comes down to the transaction ordering and sequencing process and the block times. And on Fogo, we've been able to reduce our block times down to 40 milliseconds, 10x improvement over what Solana is able to offer. And that enables builders to create trading experiences that actually removes the MEV front running and a lot of issues that we see with the trading experience on chain right now. That's at the end of the day just going to allow traders to actually make more money and lose less money at the end of the day. That's really what we're all about.
Makes sense. Thanks. Thank you guys for the answers over there. So in the multi-chain world, many things break in a production environment. How have you guys been able to provide solutions to things that can break, and what are some of those things that are commonly breaking in the space at the moment?
In terms of breaking, I mean, it depends what layer you are of the stack. But obviously, if things are breaking on the smart contract level, you have a pretty big problem on your hands. Like in our case, we build systems as robust as we can. We are robust, but in our particular case, we want to help the space have like redundancy. Like in the eventuality that your bridge provider is down or it's hacked or whatever, you can always leverage a second one or a third one or a fourth or a fifth or whatever. Things in Lucid tend not to break, thankfully, at least so far, and hoping to keep it that way.
So maybe I can say that. So traditionally, it's true that some of the recent bugs, they were caused by question interruptions. So I guess the oldest kind of bugs were about bridges, because more often than not, bridges, they introduce extra assumptions like a set of guardians, and there's a smart contract that potentially could be a massive honeypot for hackers, and so any bug there could have catastrophic consequences. Interestingly, we also see some problems with oracles, which are in a way also cross-chain entities, and that was the status bug with Sui. But I think that's probably the two main categories I can think about.
Yeah, I think actually the user experience cross-chain is probably one of the things that is the largest pain point. And when it comes to, I think bridging is a great example, but just getting assets in between chains is not something that your traditional user is super accustomed to. And how can we create better experiences in getting native assets on chain and then assets from other chains to our chain as well, and making that user experience as seamless as we can is something that it's a fairly broken process in our industry right now, and it's something that's top of mind for us to continue improving.
Yeah, I think I would also maybe highlight kind of the different token standards that exist from these bridges, and kind of the UX that came with that, where you have like representation of USDT, like 5 versions, right, depending on the bridge on a different chain, and I think we're moving more and more to like a intent-based model of bridging, so it also kind of removes this honeypot there. In terms of from our perspective, I think you're still going to have like these validator-based bridges and the guardian sets. What we personally are kind of focused on, and also on the intent model, is to actually have these actors that carry out these cross-chain transactions have like economic security and be like slashable for what the actions they do. So if they misbehave, they should be slashed or rewarded accordingly. Sometimes these bridges are just like, a multi-sig. We had one of the biggest hacks, right, was Multichain, which kind of turned out to be just one guy. In the end, if you have staking, if you have economic incentives, like you're setting up a more decentralized network, and we're basically providing the primitives for you to do that without having to build everything in-house. So that's, I would say, how we try to improve the security of this stack.
Awesome. No, thank you guys for that. I guess touching upon like the multi-chain UI UX and the issues with onboarding like non-niche Web3 users, what do you guys think are some of the solutions that currently exist? Feel free to share a solution. It doesn't have to be yours. You can name drop if you want right now, and yeah, let us know like what exists out there to help solve this huge problem.
Yeah, I'm happy to take that one. So I will do a shameless plug right now. We've built, it's not a wallet, it's a wallet agnostic kind of account abstraction tool, and it's called Fogo Sessions. It's essentially creating a session on chain where using a public key, any wallet that's SVM compatible can transact on chain. So exactly what you were saying, that user onboarding experience of, if someone has a Soulfare wallet or a Phantom wallet or any SVM wallet that they have, they'll actually be able to use it on our chain. And that will work across all of our ecosystem applications as well.
Yeah, so in the case of Linera, we announced a partnership with an embedded wallet called Dynamic that's doing a magnificent job providing all kinds of ways for users to connect a wallet. There could be also just signing up with a Google like a Gmail account or just an email address. So that's been working really well. And then, of course, following the standards on account abstraction and making things more flexible for application developers.
So in our case, we work with some providers like Li-Fi, for example. I think these guys are doing a really good job at aggregation and UX, because let's be honest, it's an absolute nightmare when you have to jump around different interfaces, try and find one that's compatible with your tokens. It's a total mess. So through them, they've built like an API that aggregates all these assets, makes them available inside of all the major UIs that you might be using, whether it's going to be inside of a MetaMask, inside of Jumper Exchange, or wherever. So any asset that is natively Lucid is also going to be natively Li-Fi, and therefore have all the distribution that the asset issuers could want and that the actual users want to have access to. So yeah, we're really happy to be partnered with them, and I think they're doing a really good job.
Yeah, I think one of the big issues still for onboarding is, and as many of you also mentioned, right, the sort of the seed phrase, or like getting people to even create the wallet, right? And I think we're having like a resurgence of new solutions in that space, right? Like passkeys being one example, where you essentially can like sort of hide the seed phrase and all the complexity of it from your user in a secure way. And maybe also, like MPC or decentralized custodians, where, the key is kind of held by this decentralized network of custodian instead of the end user, and you never need to really expose it to them without them like not even, they are still having some form of self-custody and security that brings. So yeah, pretty excited about those things actually bringing us to the mainstream, and applications integrating that, abstracting for the user.
Awesome. Yeah, really good solutions here. Excited to see, how the future of user onboarding for the masses looks like, and as we continue to develop as an industry. I guess touching upon multi-chain itself. So obviously the initial multi-chain opportunity was one of great abundance and opportunities and collaborations, but we've seen, on the other hand, that it's become much more tribal and dividing across the board, and to a degree even more competitive. So as infrastructure providers in the space, where do you guys choose to compete, and where do you guys choose to collaborate?
So yeah, we see the EVM space as still one that's obviously maturing. There's been a bit of change in like the narratives coming out the foundation. It was a very layer 2, layer 3 oriented roadmap. Then obviously, is this working as we all had hoped? I think it's questionable at this point. But even though the like L2 narrative, L3 and AppChain narrative is kind of in question, it's still clear that the EVM space is the future. It's that even the stablecoin chains that are launching by, whether it's Stripe or even the Tether-backed chains, they're all EVM. Yes, they are L1s, and I think ultimately they had to be able to raise the kind of funds that they've done. Like VCs want these huge mega trillion-dollar narratives, and they're not gonna be happy with an L2 on day one. But as the EVM stack matures, obviously these L1s that are already compatible can migrate in and become L2s, right? Or L3s or whatever. In the same way that, for example, like Ronin Chain was an EVM L1, now it's migrating over. Celo Chain, EVM L1, now it's migrating over. So I think the future is definitely still EVM. It's just it's just how the momentum shifts between narratives, right? So we're very Ethereum aligned. Like I'm massively appreciative to the Ethereum space and all its contributions, but also we have to explore alternative options. Where is momentum shifting? Is it SVM? Is it the movement-based ecosystems? We have to monitor it and just be aware and see where it goes.
I mean, it's fine, if there are lots of blockchains. I guess there are two opinions there. So you could think that if blockchains are like operating systems, then there should be only 2 of them, and you should never try to create a new one ever again. But that's not what I think. I think blockchains are more like cities. So you can have new ones. Every city has a different governance, different specialty, and you've got roads between them, and that's fine, So at Linera, we think that we're like really like super specialized in like what I said, like real time agentic applications. Our execution model is using well-known languages like Rust and Solidity, but at the same time, our programming model is also very unique, and it's going to really unlock new kinds of applications. So we're not, we really build the tech so that applications have a reason to be built on Linera, and we're happy to work with other ones with that in mind.
Yeah, I guess going back to the multi-chain question, there's like this idea that if you live in the F-specific chain world, then you need a neutral interoperability protocol between them, because otherwise you're basically being controlled, I guess, by the interop protocol in a way. And I think, Cosmos had like IBC, which is like basically agnostic to like the implementer and doesn't introduce extra trust assumptions aside from like the chain's own validator set. And we are trying to bring back like security at least from the chain, so that interop becomes like kind of a part of the same trust assumptions of the chain itself, so that you can like restake tokens from your own staking environment and also use them to secure your interoperability, to secure your oracles, to secure other infra that you on your chain might need, instead of like relying on a third party and the trust assumptions that they introduce. So today the model is you integrate with like another partner, they bring their own validator set. In a like symbiotic world, the way we imagine it is you sort of restake your own tokens and stake the same security across all these different and build your own validator set and kind of align them all under the same economic security. So that's where we think this is going and what we want to enable.
Yeah, I mean, I think we're quickly spiraling towards a multi-chain future that is becoming so unwieldy, with feels like a handful of new chains launching every single day, right? And do we really believe that the end state is millions of chains with all of their own infrastructure and walled gardens and a very fragmented and siloed approach? No, I don't think that's going to be the end state here. And on the collaboration part of the question, right, I think it's extremely important when you think about the tools and the services that sit alongside those chains to have shared access, right? And whether it's onboarding, whether it's liquidity, whether it's bridging, all these things that are going to make the experience feel more seamless and allow users to move between ecosystems in a way that keeps everything intact and feels very native, right? So I think we'll see more of that from the infrastructure side of enabling those cross-chain experiences to just feel easier.
Awesome. No, thanks for the takes. Really good takes across the board over here. I guess, with you guys being on the ground floor, where are you guys seeing most of the growth, or what are some predictions of, growth with regards to like, some of the different infrastructure languages like SVM, EVM, or movement, or, something else that's out there? Like, where are you guys seeing the most growth at the moment, and where do you expect that? Because obviously last year there was a bit significant growth on the SVM side of things, and then Hyperliquid has come out of nowhere in the last couple of call it 6 months, and that's obviously now the EVM world is claiming Hyperliquid. So like, would love to hear you guys takes over there.
Yeah, I guess you had already mentioned it in your answer before. I'm also mostly EVM person. I think the tooling that was built around the EVM and like especially for DeFi use cases is just much more mature and just broadly better suited for these kind of use cases. And then I guess that's why a lot of these teams choose it. That doesn't mean that there can't be anything else. Obviously, Solana proved that, and there are many like new other approaches. But I think there's, I guess, a certain Lindy effect also of the EVM and just the liquidity that's there, and that might be hard to turn over. Doesn't necessarily mean it's the best. It's kind of like how JavaScript won a little bit in the Web 2 world. So maybe we're seeing the same thing here. But yeah, I think that's probably like what I would say.
Yeah, I think the network effects and the first mover advantage that the EVM ecosystem has is undeniable. Personally, more of an SVM guy. It sounds like might be the only one up here, but and I think to your question, a lot of where the growth that we're seeing, and I think things that are going to be really exciting over the next few months. Obviously, we have what I'm calling kind of the speculation market, prediction markets, and perps. I think those are huge use cases that are really dominating mindshare right now. And then you have the stable coins and you have the tokenization of assets. Those are really the areas that I think are going to drive a lot of the adoption in the coming months.
Yeah, I was gonna say well, first, yeah, historically speaking, once there is a standard like JavaScript, it's very hard to displace for new frameworks. But if you looked at JavaScript, it evolved over time into other things like TypeScript, and then you can even like now, yeah, there's WASM, there's all sorts of standards that are like here to patch the initial framework, and so that was the old story. So it was already not a clear cut for me that once the standard is established, it's there forever. But now also, I think we have to take into account the fact that they are coding agents now, and so. I mean, honestly, it works. It's not replacing engineers, right? But it's definitely helping code in whatever language you want. I think it's kind of making a little bit irrelevant what kind of tools you're using at the end. If you're not an expert in Rust and you're coming from the even world, you can vibe code something in Rust, and if you're already a software engineer, that's already pretty good with an AI agent. So honestly, I think that's something that should be yeah. I mean, I'm a strong believer in AI. I think it really changes things.
So the way I look at it is, as we discussed, like Ethereum obviously had first mover advantage, and I'm very bullish on Ethereum in the long term. But let's not pretend that there wasn't a lot of complacency and a bit of lack of clear strategic roadmap from the ecosystem, especially over the last couple of years. They became complacent. Like they were getting all the volume in the last bull run. DeFi summer was all Ethereum, and I think they struggled to comprehend with the possibility that the momentum would shift. And I think I was personally not particularly interested in Solana in the last bull run, but having seen what they'd gone through, with the FTX crash and their associations with that, and building through the bear market, and increasing throughput, decreasing latency, I'm a massive advocate of Solana, and I'm a massive advocate of them shaking the foundation to their core, the Ethereum foundation to their core, making them wake up, making them be strategic. Like we've started to see some reorganization around the foundation. We're not quite there yet, like saying that you guys don't know how to structure an organization, and then electing two CEOs is probably not the response I would have made. But they're definitely moving in the right direction. Like this competitive pressure is having an impact, and I hope it continues. And so I want Solana to continue to improve, because that's going to improve Ethereum. And ultimately, yeah, I think it's healthy to have this competition. Competition breeds innovation, and ultimately the whole space wins.
Love it. Appreciate it. Thanks for the insights over here. Why don't we jump to hot takes? I think we have some time for some hot takes, so feel free to drop them. I guess like multi-chain infra, anything you want.
My hot take is that we have enough chains. I know that this might maybe not be a hot take, and also I sell infrastructure to chains, so it's not really my best interest to say this, but repopulating a whole DeFi ecosystem again and again and again is really just a waste of our resources and attention. Like we already have enough bandwidth through these chains, and we're seeing that increase, month on month, year on year with these upgrades. but we just don't need to repopulate any more DeFi ecosystems, because when you do that, then you have to run all these incentive programs, which are massively wasteful. And, someone loses money at the end of that, whether it's a foundation or retail. I think we have enough bandwidth, especially on the growth curve that we're on, that we don't need to keep doing this again and again.
I hear you. I hear you. I would argue that we actually don't have a performant enough blockchain with the correct ecosystem in place to fulfill the high frequency trading use case that clearly exists out there, especially from an institutional side. So I think we will get to that point soon. I believe that Fogo is that end state. I'm sure everyone feels that way about their own chain, but I don't think we've hit a point yet where the infrastructure around global consensus has reached a level where, yep, we think this is the kind of the epitome of what we can achieve. So agreed that we will, get there. I would say my hot take, I'll just keep going, is no one really cares about decentralization, is my hot take. And I think no better proof of that than Hyperliquid. They're a single sequencer. They operate in one data center, which I think raises some concerns. But clearly, with the numbers that they're producing, they're doing 70 to 80% of all on-chain trading volume right now. People don't care. And I think it was a big part of the ethos of what we've done for a long time. And if we can be credibly decentralized, no censorship, or a censorship resistant chain with credible decentralization and security in place, along with no KYC and some of the things that come along with that. Other than that, having thousands of validators around the world, probably not essential to what we're trying to achieve here, and actually just slows things down.
Yeah, maybe to add to that, I guess I see that too, and it's a little bit disheartening, I guess, as someone that entered because of the ethos also in a way. And I think, well, for a long time we had the regulatory pressure in a way, pushing people to launch staking models because they were like, oh, this is the way I actually don't have control over the protocol because there's governance, and that seems to be going away. And maybe the hot take in a way is, maybe we need that a little bit more, because obviously the user and some of the end incentives of the end user, they force centralization in a way. So there needs to be some sort of higher power, because it won't come from self-interest. And that might just need to be the state or something, or some governing body that enforces that or sees that, because otherwise we'll just run into problems again where some centralized actor collapses and people lose money. So if we want to avoid that, didn't say I would say something like this, but I guess that's sort of maybe a take that could be there.
I mean, just to add to that, I would say that you need product market fit before you decentralize, right? This is it should be pretty aware that decentralization comes at a sacrifice for efficiency. That's just in the nature of the game. So you should not be decentralizing and making yourself inefficient when you don't have product market fit. And I think the industry itself is struggling to find our product market fit. What is crypto's contribution to the world beyond all the hype and ultimately many of the stories that didn't work out? I think the stablecoins seem to be the industry's product market fit right now, on a meta narrative, and that's important because we will, for the first time, be delivering real value to people around the world, and that's going to really help redeem the PR nightmare that we're in as a space. When people are actually able to build whole economies and futures for themselves on stablecoins that come through, being birthed out of crypto. I think that's really important. But now that we are starting to find that product market fit, that's when we look to progressively decentralize, and that's when we can really, take that and finally deliver on that mission.
So my hot take is there's a lot of block space out there for sure, but we personally I tend to think that it's kind of hyper specialized for one category of applications, which usually DeFi applications, and so this is the kind of applications for which you need a sequential stream of transactions, and you try to really maximize the throughput of your thing, knowing that there's always going to be a limit, and so we're seeing people making trade-offs with decentralization to push that limit, and that's maybe fine. We haven't seen a consumer app really. I mean, if you wanted to power like an app that has like millions of active users in parallel worldwide with some sufficient decentralization, I don't think a chain out there is doing that, and that's kind of what we're building at Linear. So obviously, I'm here to remind, I mean, to tell you about it. But yeah, so yeah, so I think it's not the end of the story in terms of infrastructure. So that's why we're building it.
Awesome. Thank you, guys. There's some really good hot takes, and appreciate your time over here. We're on time.
Thank you.
Thank you for having us.
Thank
Yeah,
you.
Thanks.